As I have recently started reading Tokyo Ghoul in 2022, I thought I would share some of my thoughts about the manga and how it feels to read. For those that care, I didn't watch the anime before reading the manga, as I have heard that it is a bad adaptation, and there is no reason for me to watch a bad adaptation. According to others, they did the classic bad adaptation where they not only rushed through the story of the manga, but also didn't really follow the plot, which is not ideal to say the least. If you're already going to make an adaptation of something, then why don't you just follow the plot that the manga laid before you? That's the only reason why people want to watch the anime. There's no different reason why people would care. There's sites out there for your own version of events if you really want to write that. I will never understand the people that license a manga to make an adaptation of it just for them to disregard the plot and do what they want. Luckily, it seems like this trend is dying out, at least when it comes to anime adaptations. We're not going to talk about live action adaptations today, that's a discussion for another day. But getting back to Tokyo Ghoul, because of summer break I found myself with more time than before, and having nothing to read I decided to pick up the manga. I heard that it was darker than most shonen, and that it would be a more unique story. I can't say I went in without any expectations, but I tried not to hype it up too much for myself, or else I'd probably be disappointed. Luckily, I wasn't disappointed with it at all. Even though it's an older shonen manga that started in 2011, I can say that it's aged like wine. Even after all these years, it still feels fresh and unique from the other stuff in the magazine. The only thing I could compare it to is maybe Chainsaw Man, as both stories are darker and more unique than the other shonen out there. But Chainsaw Man has a lot more weird comedy and quirkiness to it, so the similarities end at the dark tone, I'd say, and the plot twists. For those that don't know, Tokyo Ghoul is a story about Kaneki Ken, who is a normal college student at the beginning of the story. He is a rather shy boy and he keeps to himself. He likes to read and be alone most of the time. But Kaneki has one good friend nicknamed Hyde, with whom he goes out to a cafe to show him this particular place. At this place, Kaneki met a girl who he instantly had an attraction to, a beautiful young woman named Rize, who after a quick conversation he agrees to go on a date with. However, the date doesn't pan out as Kaneki thought it would, not only because he doesn't end up in her pants, but because she almost eats him. Literally. Rize turns out to be a ghoul, a monster in human form who can only satiate her hunger by eating human meat. And I'm not trying to confuse it with wordplay, I'm not talking about sausages. Rize attacks Kaneki and plans on eating his flesh. However, before she can finish him off, something happens and Rize gets crushed by some falling beams. Some random people come around and find both of them lying on the ground unconscious. They call the ambulance, and after they are brought in, it turns out that Rize already died, and the doctor, still seeing that Kaneki is alive, decides to give Kaneki her organs. And with that, Kaneki Ken's tragedy begins. Being in between two worlds, Kaneki has been turned into a ghoul by the operation, and with it, all the downsides come as well. Kaneki cannot satiate his hunger by normal foods anymore. Even the hamburger he liked to eat with his friend now tastes disgusting to him. All foods taste disgusting to him, likening them to horseshit and similar things. Reading the manga, I feel like Kaneki's slow descent into insanity is written exceptionally well. The manga begins slowly and takes its time to introduce the world and the characters that inhabit it, putting on layers upon layers until it eventually all comes together in a crescendo. Everything that has been set up meets in the end, delivering a huge, gory and epic final which leaves you wanting more, making you crave the next part of the story. The art in the manga is nice and stands out from the other shonen titles. It feels like Sui Ishida had his own art style and that it was perfectly made for the type of story he wanted to tell. It feels rough and messy and all over the place at times, but I feel like it's just perfect for illustrating Kaneki Ken's character and some of the events that happen in the story. Like, I can't imagine that feeling being transmitted with any other art style other than this. It's perfect for illustrating Kaneki's descent into insanity and the tragedy his life has become. I already started Tokyo Ghoul Re as well, which is the sequel, and I can say that his art style improves a lot. It still keeps the same feeling, but it makes the characters and everything else look even better. As I stated previously, I really think you won't find anything quite like this in Shonen Jump currently. The only thing you could compare it to is Chojin X, which is Sui Ishida's next work, but I'm not entirely sure about that. I haven't read the series yet, but the feeling it gives off because of its art style is similar. And from what I've read online, it's kind of similar, tone-wise and everything, so I think maybe you could get that feeling there. Anyway, if you're searching for a finished action manga to read that is different from everything else currently in Shonen Jump, then you should give Tokyo Ghoul a chance. I'm not finished with Re yet, but from the 20 odd chapters I've read so far, I can say it's on the same level, if not better. Sui Ishida isn't afraid to make plot twists happen and go in a direction you aren't expecting. It truly is a wonderful thing to read. It feels like you never know exactly what will happen. Will a character I like die? Will he become evil? Will he disappear? You can't predict what will happen. The only constant is that Kaneki is going to suffer both mentally and physically. And those are my thoughts about the Tokyo Ghoul manga, up to the point I've read at least. If you enjoyed the video, then subscribe and drop a like. There will be more videos coming in the future.